They say flying with a baby is an Olympic sport that I was just trying to survive the day that my daughter Layla was 6 months old, bright-eyed, curious, and completely unaware that she hated turbulence. We were flying home to Houston after spending a week visiting my mom in Charlotte. It was just the two of us. My husband, Donovan, was still overseas on business. The flight was packed. Every seat full. Every overhead bin stuffed. I had Layla strapped to my chest in a carrier, my diaper bag slung over one shoulder, a travel pillow tucked under my arm, and boarding passes clenched between my teeth as I shuffled down the narrow aisle, praying not to bump into anyone. The stares started before I even found my row. Some were curious, smiling, maybe even sympathetic, but others, judging, annoyed, like I'd brought chaos into their calm. I get it. Babies cry on planes. But what no one ever says is this. Mothers cry. Too. I reached row 16 and breathed out. Window seat. I nudged into the row sideways, careful not to bump the woman in 16B. Middle-aged. Sharp haircut. Expensive perfume that hit me like chemical fog. I smiled politely. Excuse me. She didn't move. I glanced at my seat. She was in it. I think you're in 16A, I said gently, trying not to sound confrontational. She looked up at me, then at Layla, then back to her phone. I prefer the window. I blinked. Sorry, but I booked that seat, I said, holding out my ticket. Would you mind switching? She sighed like I'd asked her to carry my luggage. Isn't it enough you're bringing that noise machine on board? Layla cooed. Perfectly timed. The woman grimaced. Fine. God, people with kids think they own the world. She stood up dramatically, scooted 1 inch, and flopped into the middle seat like I'd personally ruined her life. I sat down, Layla now sleeping against my chest, and stared out the window, jaw tight. I wasn't angry. Not yet. But I was something worse. Embarrassed. The plane took off, and for a while, it was calm. Layla stayed asleep, thank God. I handed her a pacifier, wrapped a soft blanket around her, and tried to ignore the way the woman beside me kept shifting like I was contaminating her space. She huffed loudly when I reached into the diaper bag, scoffed when Layla squeaked in her sleep, pressed the call button just to ask for 2 vodkas neat. The flight attendant, an older white woman, brought the drinks, smiled tightly, and looked at me like I was the cause of the turbulence outside. At a T1 point, I accidentally dropped Layla's bottle cap. It rolled under the seat. I leaned forward to retrieve it, gently bracing Layla's head with one hand. That's when it happened. The woman beside me shoved my arm. Hard. Layla stirred. You elbowed me, she snapped. What? I didn't. I was reaching. You people always have excuses. She said it loud enough for the row across to hear. You people. Not just rude. Racial. I froze. Not because I was scared, but because I knew exactly what this could become. A black woman, holding a baby, defending herself midair. A white woman playing victim. A captive audience. And one wrong word away from the headline no one wants. Layla began to cry. Not full meltdown. Just the whimper of a baby sensing tension. I tried to rock her gently, whispering comfort into her soft curls. That's when the woman beside me, let's call her Karen, because that's who she was, leaned closer, her voice a hiss. This is why kids like that shouldn't be allowed in first class. We weren't even in first class, just an exit row, but something about the phrase, kids like that, twisted inside me. I turned slowly. Please stop talking. Or what? She smiled smug. Safe. That's when she did it. She raised her hand and slapped my arm. While I was holding my baby, not a brush, not an accidental nudge. A slap. Layla screamed. The cabin went still. People turned. Some gasped. The woman shrank back just a little, but not much. She assaulted me, she yelled, pointing at me like I was some kind of criminal. I was in shock. The flight attendant rushed over. What's going on here? Karen spoke first. Of course, she hit me. She shoved me. I want her removed. The attendant turned to me, expression already leaning skeptical. Ma'am, is that true? I couldn't believe it. I was sitting here quietly with my baby. She slapped me. You can't accuse another passenger without proof. That's when a voice behind me cut in. I recorded the whole thing. The voice came from behind us, row 17, window seat. A young black woman, maybe mid-20s, holding up her phone. I got it all on video, she said calmly. You slapped her while she was holding her baby. Karen's face changed instantly, from confidence to calculation. The flight attendant blinked. You have it on video? Full HD, the woman nodded. And audio. Around us, the cabin buzzed. Passengers craned their necks. A man across the aisle muttered, "I saw it too." The attendant hesitated, her authority visibly unraveling. "Ma'am," she said to Karen now, "I need you to remain calm." "I'm calm," Karen screeched. She attacked me. The child was making noise. I stood there, still cradling Layla, whose sobs were now hiccups. My arms were shaking, not from fear, but from restraint. Every cell in my body wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Not here. Not with Layla in my arms. Instead, I took a breath and said, "Get the captain." The attendant blinked again. "Excuse me?" "Get the captain. Now." "That's not procedure. Tell the captain," I said, locking eyes with her, "that Madison Page, principal shareholder of Skylink Aviation, is being assaulted on her own aircraft." She paled. "Let me rewind that I'm not just a passenger, that I'm not just a mom on a plane, that I'm Madison Page. My grandfather started Skylink as a regional airline with 4 planes and a handshake deal in the 70s. When he passed, my father took it global. I joined the board 5 years ago and now hold 18% of the company's stock, and oh, I don't flaunt it. I fly coach often. I wear leggings. I carry my own bags, because power doesn't need to be loud, but when it's time, it echoes." The flight attendant stammered, then walked briskly toward the cockpit. Karen turned to me, whisper hissing, "Nice fantasy. You think pretending to be rich is gonna save you?" I didn't answer. 2 minutes later, the cockpit door opened. The captain, an older white man with a silver beard, stepped into the aisle. "Ms. Page?" he asked, scanning the row. "Yes," I said, quietly. He took one look at Layla, still trembling against my chest, and nodded. "We'll take care of this." Karen looked between us, confused. "She's lying. You don't know who she is." The captain turned. "Actually, I do. And I also know that you just physically assaulted a mother holding her child." He gestured to the same young woman in row 17. "I'd like that video sent to our legal department immediately." Karen's mouth opened and closed, like a fish suffocating in air. You can't," she started. "Ma'am, if I had the authority, we'd land this plane right now and have you removed. As it stands, you'll be met by airport security when we land." The cabin erupted in murmurs. Karen slumped back in her seat, crossing her arms like a scolded child. Layla began to calm. Her breathing slowed as I kissed her forehead. Justice doesn't always need a courtroom. Sometimes it just needs a witness and a well-timed voice. The rest of the flight was quiet. Karen didn't say a word. She sat stiff, eyes straight ahead, hands clenched in her lap. A silence not born of peace, but of fear. Passengers around us avoided eye contact with her, but with me? They nodded, some in solidarity, some in embarrassment, some in overdue recognition. The flight attendant returned once, with water. She didn't apologize, but her posture said everything that I accepted it. Not for her. For Layla. When we touched down in Houston, the captain came back again. "Ms. Page, we've alerted airport security. Do you wish to disembark first?" "No," I said. "Let her go first." His brow furrowed, confused. "She deserves the walk of shame." And oh, did she get it? 2 officers waited at the gate, arms crossed. Karen was escorted off the plane, still muttering, her scarf now tangled and makeup smudged. 1 officer nodded to me that I nodded back. Passengers let her pass like parting waters. She didn't look back that I walked off last, Layla calm in my arms now, chewing on her fingers. The woman from row 17 approached me in the terminal. "That was wild," she said. "You okay?" "I am now," I nodded. "Thank you for stepping up." "You're the owner, huh?" "Part of it." She grinned. "Good. I like flying with companies run by women who don't take any crap." That evening, I sat on the couch at home, Layla finally asleep, that I watched the video again. Not because I enjoyed it, but because I needed to feel what others would see that a black woman, calm and composed, that a white woman, aggressive and entitled, that a baby, innocent and caught in the crossfire. The video had already hit TikTok, courtesy of my seatmate. Within 6 hours, 2.4 million views. Hashtag "she didn't hit first" was trending. My assistant called. "Madison, do you want PR to handle this?" "No. Let it breathe. She's being dragged. So let her feel what we've felt for years." Later that night, my husband FaceTimed from London. His eyes widened when I told him, "She hit you?" While holding Layla. And lied about it. "You okay?" "I am now." We sat in silence for a moment, not out of awkwardness, but out of something deeper, that ache of always having to prove your innocence. Even when you're holding a baby, Skylink issued a statement 2 days later. We stand by our shareholder and the values this company was built on. There is no space for violence or bigotry on our aircraft. We are reviewing in-flight protocol and will be implementing new training across all flight crews starting next quarter. I didn't write it, but I reviewed every word. Karen was identified within 48 hours. Her employer suspended her. Her country club revoked her membership. Not a public apology came later. Scripted, hollow, far too late that I didn't respond, because sometimes silence is the loudest thing you can offer. Months passed. The story faded from headlines, replaced by the next viral scandal. The world moved on, but I didn't forget, and neither did Layla. Not because she remembers, but because one day she'll ask, "Mom, why did that lady hurt you on the plane?" And I'll tell her, not just the story, but the lesson, that the world will sometimes see your skin before it sees your soul. That silence can be strategy, but never surrender. That kindness is a choice, but defense is a right. And that her mama didn't back down. Not that day. Not ever. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of something you or someone you love has lived through, don't be quiet. Comment, share, speak up, because one voice isn't enough to change the world. But together, we don't just fly, that we rise.